Doug Smith, it's another restaurant mastermind here on LinkedIn. We're talking to Billy Schaefer, Director of Operations at Captiva Restaurant Group. Billy, you're in North Carolina, and phase one just started for the reopening for post the COVID-19. A lot of states are starting to reopen. Are there any specific steps that you guys are doing? What is your overall strategy to get things back rolling?
Sure. Phase one, North Carolina really doesn't have anything to because phase 0 to phase 1, we're still in curbside to go or delivery only. So we have to wait till phase 2, which is about 2 weeks from now. Our entire model right now is we are doing curbside to go. We just started that a couple weeks ago. And we're spending every bit on training. We basically our whole philosophy right now is we have 5 locations. And so we have 5 new store openings here in 2 weeks. So our entire philosophy is we're about to open 5 restaurants at one time, which is, that's the worst idea that anybody could ever have. But life kind of dictated to that. So we're just going down the path of what it's like to open a new restaurant, and we're following that same process step platform that we do for opening a new location. We're just doing.
Got it. Now, your training, you have extensive training background. I love the fact of Dale Carnegie training, big fan of that. Training is something that is of the utmost importance to you, and you're darn good at it. As the restaurant industry reopens, you're going to have, you and other restaurants are going to have a number of employees who don't come back. So you're going to have new faces. Maybe you have new systems and policies in place. So training is going to be paramount. What kind of insights could you give to somebody regarding training, how to do it, and what's so important about it?
Sure. The one thing that I would probably say during this is don't invent anything new. If you have training in place, follow the systems that you had, just operate them at 100%. And I use that term all the time. It's when you do something and you choose to do that, just do it. I think the biggest problem people have with training is they come up with these great ideas, and in theory they are amazing. They're going to get the best results in the world, but they just don't execute them. So you have to plan and you have to execute. So instead of recreating the wheel, just take what you already have and say, I'm going to do this to 100%. I'm going to make sure that every system, every process step, every policy we have, we manage that perfectly. That is my advice to everybody right now, is quit trying to reinvent the wheel right now. That's not what this is for. You don't want to reinvent the wheel when you're going through a new store opening. That's ludicrous. If you do that, you are going to fail, and that's not what we need right now. Plus, we don't need new policies, because the biggest thing that people want right now is familiarity. When they come back in your restaurant, they want to come back to what they remember. They don't want a new normal. They want normal. So that's what people are wanting in the restaurant industry. We just need to give that to them. So what we're focused on is we went back through every policy, procedure, and process step that we have in place, and we're just making sure that everybody knows it to 100% and is perfect. We spent, since we shut down the restaurants till today, every manager has done one-on-one classes, group classes with myself, with a general manager, and we actually are rotating general managers through our company on Zoom calls to make sure that they understand these policies and they understand how to put them in place at 100%. Now that we have our teams back in the restaurant and we're doing the curbside to go, we're only focused on them managing these policies that we already have in place to 100%. That is helping the managers get back to where we want to operate at an exceptional level. And then we're just having every single team member go through the training that they already did. They all have to go through all the testing they did when they got hired. For a lot of them, they're just going to smoke it. It's going to be not an issue because we're very lucky. We've had our teams in place for probably since the inception of the restaurants, because our turnover, we average around 29% turnover for our hourlies. And in an industry standard of 300%, we're really proud of 29%. At our oldest location here, Lake Norman and Cornelius, we've been open 16 years, and we have, I think, 25% of the staff was here on day one. That's an incredible number. We're very blessed. Teaching people the right way, and that's where that stuff comes in. Is you teach people the right way and you train them accountable, they'll stick around forever. So that's kind of what I believe everybody should be looking at as far as training in this new store opening mentality.
What it sounds like, because of the downtime, it's almost like doing a policy or a training audit, if you will. Go back through and maybe look at it and fine tune it, and maybe there's something that you could tweak a little bit, or you realize this is great as is. You add, you subtract. So I would imagine that's something that you would recommend to other restaurant owners, operators, if they have the time, if they haven't done it, to go back through and kind of flush out what needs to be flushed out.
Well, I actually kind of challenge that.
Okay.
I don't think anybody should change anything. Where people fail is they don't operate what they already have at 100%, and they assume it's broken when they've actually never seen it operate. So why not actually take the time to look at the policy they have in place and make sure everybody knows it to 100%, every letter of the detail, test everybody on every policy. Because I think what happens is people say, they write a policy, they train to it, oh, that doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work because they never operated it correctly. It's like operating a backhoe without an ignition. Like, well, yeah, if you don't turn it on, it's not going to work. You don't need to rebuild the whole backhoe. Just learn where the ignition was supposed to be. So I would stop anybody from changing anything right now. Use now to solidify what they have. The analogy I always use is your training is a brick wall, and there's holes all throughout it and everywhere. We all have holes in our training where people are missing one process step, or they might just not understand this one key phrase. And yeah, the walls still stand up, but there's a hole there. So spend the time now to fill in those gaps. Once you get your entire company operating at 100% on that policy, that's the key. Understand how to operate at 100%. Now, if you want to change something, you already understand what it's like to operate at 100%. Now you can make that modification and you're still at 100%. To whereas what a lot of people are doing, and kind of what you're in reference to, is they're going to go ahead and change it when it wasn't at 100%. So basically, the wall didn't work because it had holes in it, so they're going to tear that wall down and build another wall. That's just wildly inefficient and not effective, and that's not really how training works. So a lot of the companies that have these really weak training operations, that's why, is they don't operate the training how they should.
That's good stuff. And obviously, I always encourage anyone watching this, if they're not connected with you, because you and I are first connections on LinkedIn, they should reach out and connect with you because of your training background. I'm sure you can impart some serious wisdom to them, and try to help some people out with that concept. One thing that I wanted to ask you too here, it's such a lightning rod right now, but third-party delivery, some people love it, some people hate it. There's really no gray area. What's your take on third-party delivery for your restaurants?
No. I hate to be that simple, but no. We control everything in our environment as far as quality of food and quality of service. As soon as you go into those other areas, you no longer have control over the quality. We don't accept those orders with our locations. We don't want that. We don't want people to use those because they are now taking what we produce as a quality product and ruining it. We have no control what happens when they get put in their car or they make the mistake. A lot of those third-party vendors, we didn't sign up with them, so they have outdated menus, which they can do. That's 100% legal. We have no way to stop them from doing that. But we also get complaints because we don't have a lot of the items that used to be on our menu that they're ordering. And so we get a phone call, and a lot of the public doesn't understand that these third-party deliveries, they have no responsibility. It always comes back on the restaurant. So getting past the ridiculous fees that they charge, and it makes restaurants not profitable. So I actually implore any restaurant to stop using these. If us as an industry just said, hey, we're not going to do this anymore, those go away pretty quickly until, somebody else in a different business model that's a little bit makes more sense and they understand how to deliver the quality that we're looking for. That makes sense. We're an upscale dining environment. That delivery doesn't exist in that world. We want people to come in for the service because that's what we spend a lot of time working on. So I am highly against the third-party delivery for our concepts. I think if anybody wants to do delivery, do it yourself. That way you have control over your environment. As soon as you give control to anybody else, you're putting your bank account in their hands. I'm not that brave. My bank account needs to be under my control. Because if somebody screws up my order, if they go get in their car and they sit out there and hang out for about an hour and then deliver the food and it's cold, they're not responsible. I am. And I have a big problem with that.
Good point. One last question for you, and this is the last question that I ask everybody. If there was one key tip, the tip of all tips that you would give to someone watching this right now who's a new restaurant owner, operator, they just got into the industry over the last couple of years, what would that one tip be?
So my favorite thing that and a lot of people don't agree with me, but quit making it difficult. If I hear one more time that the restaurant business is a tough business, I just might scream. We literally get food delivered, we cook the food, we serve the food, we collect payment. We do 4 things. Where we struggle with in restaurants is we create work for ourselves that doesn't exist. And it happened. Every single person I've dealt with in the past 20, 25 years in this industry, they create work that's just not that important. So what I always tell people when they get started is when you're writing down what you're doing in a day, write it out, big list, write down what you did, and then actually tell me what has to do with cooking the food, serving the food, and collecting payment. If it doesn't, then what are you doing? There's so many things that people try to come up with that doesn't really matter. And hey, you know what? My phone number is on my LinkedIn account. If you need help understanding what's important and not important and you're new, call me. 502-751-2071. I'll tell you if it's not important or not. I'm more than happy to speak very vocally because I walk in and talk to my general managers all the time, and they're really great. But every once in a while, they'll tell me they're working on something, and I was like, well, that has nothing to do with anything that we're even thinking about. Why are you doing that? You're not cooking the food or serving the food or collecting payment. What are you doing? So the restaurant business is easy. We got to stop making it hard. That's what I would like to get out to everybody that's starting out.
It's good stuff. Again, I'm going to have you tagged up above. So if anybody wants to connect with you, obviously you've made it very clear. They can reach out to you, try to connect. You gave your phone number. So if somebody has any questions, that's why I'm doing this mastermind, is to share ideas. You're obviously fair game. And if you have any questions about training or the concepts that Billy just mentioned, if you don't reach out to them, it's your fault, right? It's not as simple as that, I would think.
There you go. Hey, I'm always willing to help somebody in this industry because this is what I love to do. So if you need help, call me. I'm an open book and I got time. So
sounds good. I appreciate it, Billy Schaefer. Thank you so much, and look forward to staying connected with you, sir.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Take care.